Welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk in Worlds 2022. We got one more bout to close out the day. And as we get into it, I'm going to turn things over to Dagda because I've been told you, sir, have a flaming hot take.
I have a flaming hot take, and I am about to share it because after just watching T1 take down ADG, I'm a little bit worried for RNG against Gen.G as well, because when I look at the drafts we've seen from RNG coming in from play-ins, they have been pretty terrible, to be perfectly honest. The thing that we've seen from RNG is that they've been specifically falling back into things that have been comfortable from the summer split, but haven't really adapted to the new meta. And I think this is very obvious with things like the Lucian Nami that we saw come out, because Electrocute has been nerfed massively in that combo. We even saw them running it with the Summon Airy. When you look towards their picks against teams like DFM as well in their loss in Game 4, in the win against Game 4, you're still seeing them go back towards things like the Lissandra that was very popular, the Viego that we've seen has been very much a pocket pick for Wei. It hasn't been things that have been very much suited to the new current style of the meta. It's been things that they're much more comfortable falling back on. Even with their first read against DRX, coming in with that Fi, the Neela as well, it's not anything that we've seen that's been linked to the meta at the moment. It's just been about RNG trying to find what works for them over the course of the summer split.
So where do they finish in group? What's your hot take?
Third.
Okay.
He looks like he's in pain while he's saying
I'm
that.
an RNG fan. This hurts me.
I know we're watching footage right now of in-game, but you don't understand how painful that was for
He
Dagda.
looks like I just
squeezed
stabbed him in the
out
heart.
of his lips right there.
I hate you all.
He's
I hate
predicting
you
a
all.
third place finish for RNG.
Not a hot take if you don't give us a hot take.
Yeah, my
I don't
hot
want
take.
it, though.
Yeah, because up to that point, your hot take is just they're not playing that well.
My
yet.
flaming hot take is that I'm not really loving some of these drafts.
Okay,
I'm not used to this, all right?
but here's
I
the
just
thing
smile.
about RNG, right? So while maybe there were a couple letdowns in the play-ins, they still worked their way through it and made it to the group stage, and they've had some of that time to marinate and figure out some of those mistakes maybe for themselves. The other side of this matchup, of course, Azale is the #1 seeded team out of the LCK in Gen.G. And so while they've had equal time to watch RNG and maybe identify some of those holes, this is a team that should not be trifled with, Gen.G. This is a team that has historically, as we talked about the last matchup being big historically, this matchup is just as large.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gen.G is a team that has been so dominant, within the LCK this year. They are looked at, as kind of the big dogs coming in, from summer. We're really, really crushing it. And traditionally, LCK teams have been kind of dominated by one team over the last number of years. Since when you look back to 2020, it's always one team that is just really rising above the rest. This is kind of exemplified by the finals. They are very often one-sided affairs. The teams that are coming and challenging for that title, maybe there aren't as many of them as there are from the LPL, but their top dog is always in the running, and it is Gen.G this year. That being said, it has not always been an easy road for the players on Gen.G. They have had a tremendous amount of struggles over the years where they're on the receiving end of some of these finals. And when we actually push forward and look to how many times some of these Gen.G players have actually finished in second, it is crazy. So 18 times have individual players on Gen.G finished second in the LCK. Twice, players have finished second at Worlds, and once a second at the MSI. So this is all the individual players, their second place finishes, all added together. Then
I'm not worried till we make it to the 20s.
when you add in score as well, when you add in their coach, he's got even more. So now it's 23 times has Gen.G finished second across all of their players and their coach in the LCK. And this is really exemplifying not only the long and storied history of these players' career, but that it hasn't always been smooth sailing. This is their opportunity now to really come in and be the big dogs, to be the big favorite, where traditionally for a lot of these players' careers, they're playing second fiddle to that most dominant team.
I was going to say, and this is to say, second place in the LCK is still damn good. But every single person in that region wants to go that ounce further.
So what you're saying is they have enough silver to fill a cutlery drawer, but now they're eating good. Is that where we're going?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, the cutlery drawer is full. We need to fill a different drawer, and this one we need to fill with gold.
Well, he said RNG's getting bronze, so they're already doing one better.
Oh, lordy, oh, lordy, oh, lordy. Real quickly, as we dive into this matchup, let's just talk about how we expect the two teams to actually come to a head.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part is trying to see like how So I think the weakest part of RNG's game plan is usually the early game, and I think when I look at Gen.G, they very much kind of go, hey, well, we've got, you know, 2 of the strongest carries in the world right now. We're just going to go play for late game fights. So they kind of play to almost like shut down early aggression and then lean in towards these objective fights in the later portion of the game. But I think that almost plays into nearly the strength of RNG, which is their mid game. So I think this is going to become a really cool battle of how both these teams try to interact on the map, how they're playing outside waves, and then leaning that into, hey, how do we set up for objective control? But I know over in the LCK, Gen.G have also been playing faster games as well when the time is right. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and turn that notch up a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely a team that's capable of doing it. You know, you talk about the big carries for Gen.G, and I think that's what a lot of people are so excited about. You know, seeing Chovy, seeing Ruler, seeing these guys that are so individually amazing, because those are another couple names that I think are in that conversation for who's the literal best player in the world, right? Those names are going to also kind of be in that bucket. And so it's so fun to see them coming in here, you know, as the big dogs, as the #1 seed from the LCK. And really, I think the hope that a lot of the LCK fans have their kind of hopes pinned on for winning the World Championship. Now, that may be changing with how good T1 just looked. But, you know, this is the team that I think was expected to compete with the likes of JDG and Top.
Yeah, well, and if T1 just played that well, this is the team that beat them in a fairly dominant fashion in the final.
And I think the interesting part of like the success of Gen.G was when you actually look at the drafts coming through from playoffs, like it was some variation of we'll have 2 of, you know, Ornn, Azir, or Zeri Sivir in that bot lane. It was always having this big late game scaling in it. So I'm curious to see with, you know, Yuumi, Sivir still kind of hovering around the meta, but Zeri off the table, if we get them, see them falling back towards, you know, the Ornn in the top lane, if we still get more of the Azir for Chovy.
Well, and it's really interesting because people had thought initially, I think the take was that, like, you know, Yuumi and Sivir and Zeri and all these teams are totally dead.
They're all dead.
Zeri is definitely gone. Sivir and Yuumi seem somewhat fringe, but I will say the number of times we've seen it throughout play-ins as well as some in groups, it's really not getting punished, right?
Nope.
And if people are actually seeing, you know, more and more successful games with this pick, then really we might see it rising and rising in priority. You look back to the previous game, if you're not able to slam this into the ground with Kalista, like, what are you able to blast it with?
We have Yumi's pumping out second most damage in games on their team at
Max
this World
Ludes
Championship.
is really strong now.
And if you're running a second highest damage Yuumi next to Ruler, I don't know what chance the other team has. And as we know, flaming hot take right here, RNG's not making it out of the groups. There it is. We got one more matchup to close out of the day. It's Gen.G versus RNG. Let's get down to the stage and let's kick it off.
We're closing out the opening day of Worlds 2022 group stage with another LPL versus LCK clash. Is this the Hulu Theater or the Church of Chovy? Here they are, your LCK champions, Gen.G! Face a behemoth in their opening game. An organization with 3 MSI titles in their trophy case. New York, I present to you the Titans of the LPL. Royal never give up! The final game of the first day of group stage, Gen.G and Royal never give up.
Here we are from that LCK versus LPL clash. T1 demolished EDG in the last game, but now it's the MSI champions up against the LCK first seed. A lot of expectations on both teams' carries, I think.
And we gotta start with a tough question. Dagda is a non-believer. You, as the other LPL representative, Lyric, do you have more faith? Do you have more belief in RNG?
As Dagda walked out, I looked at him pretty disappointingly. We have tons of RNG flags in the crowd, and I'm sticking with them. I believe in RNG, you know, whether they can beat Gen.G or not, I won't call that. I'm up here. I'm not on the AD, but not top 2.
Yeah.
Blasphemy.
Gonna have to find out. And look, I'm gonna hit you with the laziest analysis known to man. Gen.G smashed by T1. T1 smashed EDG. Gen.G best team in the tournament? Question mark? Transitive property, anybody?
Well, we'll find out now because this is the LPL 4th seed up against the LCK 1st seed, right? This is gonna be a banger, I can feel it. And a lot of people's eyes on Gen.G, a lot of rumors behind the scenes. To no surprise of anyone, is Chovy and Ruler are very damn good at the game. So we'll see what they get their hands on. Things like Azir is something that I wouldn't be surprised to be first picked. Lehends' Yuumi is a big standout. Does RNG want to give that over? We already seen what T1 can do with Yuumi. No, they don't. And the follow-up question is Aatrox a worthy ban here against Doran, who's a very kind of Aatrox connoisseur.
I think especially now that you can see Gen.G banning away Breed's Fiora, and just overall, I like Gen.G's approach because we saw in Plains, RNG leaned very heavily into like niche comfort picks, and Gen.G pretty much just took away all of them.
And I also like that we're seeing the Tristana specifically banned away. These resets were so incredibly powerful in Plants. Sejuani now going to be the response. Of course, Maokai still up and available, has been the premier jungle option. See if it's something that Peanut wants to try his hand at.
Yeah, Maokai, Aatrox, the two champions that I'm thinking of right now. Azir as well for Gen.G. And now I wonder if this leaving open Aatrox is Breed wanting to play Jax.
Yep, I feel like we've seen it so many times, right? When RNG came into play, it was pretty much just leaving this open, going straight towards that Jax matchup. We'll see what he can do with it, as well as jungle pool. I really wonder what they're going to do because they started leaning so heavily on that Viego pick.
I think it has to be, well, they're going to go for Graves, so I feel like Gen.G have a Maokai Azir here. That would be a kind of like Gen.G classic, but then you're dropping bot lane with Ruler and Lehends, so a couple of options here for Gen.G, but RNG confident in Wei just slamming a Graves.
Yeah, and we saw he did have a really good performance on it as well. Wei not necessarily known to be a carry jungler. So on the opposite side, I feel like Peanut has had a very explosive summer split over in the LCK. So I'm curious, when we actually get the Poppy?
I love it. Peanut Hex Flash jungle path thing. This man will shamelessly just flash over any wall level 1 to go where he wants to go to farm jungle creeps. And I'm about that. And if they pair with the Sylas,
I like the Sylas. Gives you way more skirmishing, but it's going to be Chovy's Azir, his most played in summer. I mean, all of the LCK mates really love their Azir, but Chovy's at the top of that list. But the Poppy just functions really well into Graves Jax, right? The Jax has to like find some kind of flank similar to Fiora in a way, more so of a side laner. Jumps in with the Q. If you pick a Kali into the Azir, another dash will be stopped. These are the kind of champions that do well into Azir. LeBlanc, Akali, things with kill threat, things with setup. So he's going to go for the Lissandra. I think if that was a Maokai, they probably would have gone for more of an assassin.
But Lissandra Graves, OG kill duo. When Graves got reworked, starting to play in the jungle, this was such a powerful combo we saw so frequently. Puts Chovy in a difficult spot. If he doesn't take cleanse, he has to play so incredibly safe in lane.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of onus now is on RNG, right? Because we know just in the straight up 1v1, Chovy will come out ahead. I mean, Chovy, again, potentially the best laner in the world. Xiaohu picking for the team. Him and Wei are going to have to work incredibly well together to prevent Chovy from being able to just keep Xiaohu in lane, which has been RNG's win condition, is him impacting the map.
God, Worlds has been so exciting so far already, and it's only day one of group stage, right? So we'll see how this game plays out. A lot of agency for RNG, a couple bot lane bans coming in to no surprise of anyone. Kalista taken away from Ruler, Nautilus from Ming. You're thinking of things like Sivir, Varus, Jhin, depending on what direction the AD carries want to go in. But a lot of the aggressive ones are kind of falling off. Caitlyn, Kalista being removed limits these kind of aggressive dive-heavy bot lanes.
Yeah, and that's why for Gala, like the first thing that jumps out to me would be something like the Aphelios. I think that can be a little bit rough playing into the range of something like an Azir, though. We've already seen that his pool has been pretty limited so far here at the World Championship, so I wonder if Gen.G maybe would look to take something like that away.
Yeah, Leona could also be a ban. They're going to ban away the Kai'Sa. Denying the playmaking. I mean, it's Gala, right? Gala's Kai'Sa is basically iconic. Nilaban is kind of interesting from RNG, but we won't touch on that too much because the Aphelios is locked in. That sets up RNG for many options on 5 here, where you could lock in a Leona for team fights, a Thresh for picks, even a range support, depending on what Gen.G blind pick here to play more of a front-to-back to match the Azir.
Aphelios just such a flexible AD carry, offers good utility, offers incredible damage, so later in the game we go. We just saw earlier today how important an Aphelios ult can be into a clumped-up group of opposition. Misfortune. Bit of a mixed bag in terms of performances, in terms of success with the pick, but instead, we got Senna, and that means stuff's gonna get weird on the bottom side. And what are they pairing it with?
There's no way they do Senna Singed, right? There's no Yuumi on the enemy team. I think Senna Tam would be the easy option here. but I mean, it's Lehends, you never know. He's played things like Sejuani support, he's played things like the Singe that I just touched on. It's a case of what he wants to pick to farm here. Tom Kench good into the Lissandra as well, but it's gonna be the Senna Singe! Locked in by Gen.G! Screw the Yuumi! Lehends 2 games on Singed already in summer. Known for this champion.
Blind picking Singed in their first game at Worlds. Gen.G coming in with some spicy takes of their own.
And look, it looks like they're reading the opposite side of RNG. They want some engage. They want to get something, but they realize that Aphelios is going to be so lonely in the backside, just getting run at by a Singe.
I can't believe they've just gone for the Senna Singed, but if you think about it, dashes on the Jacks and the Graves, you've got a Poppy W, you've got a Singe flip if they dash in, you've got a Singe W to root them in that flip as well, so they have tools to peel for their carries pretty well. It's just a case of how this bot lane 2v2 will play out, because I'm unsure how the Singe will be able to farm if junglers match bot, but then the kill pressure could be there.
I think that's a fair. I'm not sure how a Singe support in this matchup is going to go. We know what it does against Yuumi. Time to see what it's going to do against the Leona, and I love the grounded effect that they are going to get from the adhesive there, from the Singe. I think this is so difficult for RNG to play out, but you can see with a champion like Lissandra, if you get one reset in a fight, RNG can very quickly take those over.
Yeah, even though, right, it's taking a bit of speculation to figure out what Gen.G is going to look like once we hit the Rift. For RNG, I think it's very clear that they're going to look to play it towards Breathe. Every time they pick Jax in playing so far, Wei has been giving Breathe a lot of attention up towards that top side. It is a counter matchup. You have the setup there with your stun. Xiaohu as well following up. So RNG giving us comfort, nostalgia, and something standard. Gen.G, I mean, it's standard for them, but...
And I think prep is so incredibly important here because Peanut is very, very creative on Poppy, early game pathing, and you have so much CC setup on the bottom side. Could be incredibly easy. Now, he can match top side. He can try to limit the ability to snowball top side, or he can just go straight down to bot and leverage this incredibly unique pick in the Singe.
Couple things to keep our eyes on. One, what Lyric just touched on. How much can they get Breathe ahead? Will Wei path towards the top side and try and help them out? Second one is, I just touched on the Singe flip, the Poppy W. That's even an Azir ult as well. They have so many knockbacks. We have to keep track of how RNG's top jungle can actually get on top of the carries of Gen.G. The Leona can also be blocked, so Gen.G have this turtle shell around them with an Azir and a Senna in the middle.
The chants from RNG fans are deafening. Of course, though, as we get ready for this game, important to remember that Prime Gaming is giving away 150,000 RP to multiple fans each day. You can head over to primegamingworlds22.com to enter, and make sure to put in today's secret code to get bonus entries. Type !Prime giveaway in chat to learn a little bit more. And guys, we're going to learn a little bit more about SingeBot, because I know that, I don't want to say it's common for Lehends, because it's not an all-the-time pick, but I've seen it in the Yuumi. I love it. I love the concept behind it. Against the Leona and the Aphelios, not sure what to expect.
We'll have to see. I mean, the good news is he has TP, right? So early trades will suck regardless, and it will be hard for him to farm with the Aphelios being ranged and Leona having kill pressure. They might give up the push, they might get pushed in, of course, but the TP will help when he gets all in. But they might be late invading bot here, RNG. They are for sure. 1 minute 20, jungler in the bot side river. Will Ruler spot it? Yes, he will. Can they contest it 3v3? The answer is no!
The flash out is big.
Ming, really aggressive right now. Ruler has to just ditch this bot side. They can't contest this. Peanut's going to start on his Wolves. We have to track how Peanut answers this. Can he move into the top side to take away Wei's red buff? And is it worth it? Do you want to leave your Singe Senna alone in a 3v2?
That's what I'm actually so scared of, because for RNG, we already hit on it, having kind of a counter matchup in top, you have a stronger mid-jungle in the early game. If Gala and Ming can get ahead, I feel like Wei's just going to have complete control of the map.
This is a great map state you have to imagine here for RNG. It's so hard for Lehends to be able to farm now in this 3v2, and Peanut hasn't even moved into the top side. That ward on the entrance red there by RNG just at the top of your screen will spot whether Peanut does that, and if he does, the collapse can come in from RNG. Xiaohu will get towards level 3 by the time he arrives at this point, and Wei can move through mid now to cover it off, it looks like.
Here we go. Chovy, did he take the Q? He might have, or is he just waiting as long as possible? Forced the flash out, he did. Q and W, no E yet.
I think the reason that he flashes here is because he will get chased down to the point where he'll inevitably have to flash, and he'll get chunked out. And he has no TP. So his lane's pushing out, early flash to keep in health bar, but they're coming back for more.
Go one more time, Cloud's coming out from Chovy, running for the hills, only level 2. One more shot from the gun, can he finish it? Chovy ticking!
Oh,
Chovy, no! Back way! Oh, it's so close.
That was so dicey for RNG, which sucks because Wei has had such terrific pathing in this first few minutes, getting so much done, already 2 flashes blown, but that was close.
I think the Q from Wei there was on top of Chovy rather than in front of where he was running. So the Q2 bounce back didn't actually do any damage. Maybe if that hit, they could have got the kill, but this opened up a window for Peanut to move into the top side jungle and actually take away this red buff, which he had no business in doing so. But because RNG's mid jungle just blew their sums and Wei was low HP, he had to go to Wolves to heal up, and now he's going to lose his buff.
And that's massive because initially that level 1 disrupted so much of what Gen.G might have wanted to do in the early game, but with Wei overcommitting just a little bit there on that play, ultimately it means that Peanut's going to get something back, but they're just going to continue to force here. Doran not going to get the time to do anything.
Here they come, dive inbound, 3 versus 1.
Doran, what are you going to do? Stun coming out, you can't do anything. They're just going to point and click you down. Oh, it's effortless. It's a clean dive for RNG.
And this RNG team has just been so proactive in only the first 3 minutes of the game. I like how immediately Wei shifts from doing Raptors. Once Breathe communicates, hey, I have this wave set up, we can go for it. Xiaohu had push in mid and everything looking good.
Peanut been a bit sneaky, took away the red, took away the Raptors as well, but he had to watch his top laner die all the meantime. Wei just giving up those camps to make that top dive happen. And like I said, Drake, also a lot of proactivity coming out from RNG. They level 1 invade bot, then they look for mid gank twice, and then they go towards the top and look for a dive. Gen.G yet to respond, and in isolation, this bot matchup, the Aphelios is slowly getting ahead as expected.
And while they weren't able to kill Chovy, they did the other thing that is so important for RNG, which is free Xiaohu up to roam. You highlighted it earlier, like, this is everything for this squad. Xiaohu being the guy who can build leads in any lane once he's freed up to get out of his own.
And I'm curious to see if they want to go back and look for another opportunity top once Wei clears out his camps and, you know, kind of inevitably paths up there, or if they're going to look to make something happen bot right now. They already have some vision in the bottom half of the river. Looks like waves coming into Gala and Ming, and there might be some potential.
It's important to note, however, in the midst of everything, big CS leads for both Doran and Peanut. Wei, of course, grabbing the kill helps to get the serrated Dirk will help that early clear a decent amount, but it doesn't make Breeze's life any easier in the early laning phase, especially now that Doran's ticked over to level 5, has double Doran's items, and that Q cooldown once you have 3 points in it, pretty low.
Yeah, the beauty is, I suppose for Breeze though, is he has TP, so he'll let this wave come in, he'll catch it up, he'll still be down in CS, but he can take aggressive trades if he wants, but Wei's on the bot side right now. Punish Gen.G's bot lane for pushing in 10 CS lead for Gala right now, and they want to make this wave crash because it's kind of frozen for RNG, so Gala will try to hold it a little bit. And like I said, I mean, the Aatrox into Jax, it's actually pretty good early once he gets 3 points in Q. The cooldown's a lot lower, can trade pretty aggressively. And Xiaohu getting a bit of vision. RNG's mid-jungle have pulled off 1 dive. They're looking for roams around the map.
Yeah, again, going back to Gala, holding this wave here. I mean, already finding such a sizable advantage in this matchup. And I mean, when you play Senna plus anything into like an AD carry, right, it's a bit rough going up and trying to get farm, but RNG really trying to maximize the advantage that they have. They weren't able to make the roam before that Xiaohu made because Chovy cleared out some vision, but now that Xiaohu has re-cleared that for themselves, they always could look for the repeat play.
I think the biggest thing so far is RNG's bot lane's winning in isolation. They shut down mid level 1 and 2, and they shut down top level 3. So these lanes that maybe the Azir having to push into Lissandra, it's just disappeared. The bot lane in isolation and top lane, as good as it's going for Doran right now, that kill really helps Breathe out. Now he's TP'd back after taking some bad trades. Waves pushing out, Wei is on the way to cover that. Bot lane's also bouncing here for RNG, but Ruler rushing those Boots of Swiftness doesn't have as much damage, I think, so they can't look for those 2v2 all in. So the game's slowing down a little bit now. 500-600 gold lead over to RNG. Peanut, see what he can get done. Just looking for some information here, looking to collapse towards top side, but will decide to get the crab instead.
Yeah, not a lot going to happen. We'll see what changes as level 6 start to come out for the junglers. Level 6 for Xiaohu, of course, already up and available. On the way. Peanut now running. This is going to back off here. Treat now coming in just to defend on the top side. RNG looking for a rinse and repeat. Of course, can't stop the Lissandra E in, so the initial setup still very easy to pull off, but mostly just forcing a bit of time out from Peanut. Xiaohu gonna have to be careful about how he returns to lane. Individually in the 1v1, Azir still a big threat. Chovy just gonna settle for a bit of poke for now.
Yeah, Chovy hovering around. I think RNG knew that the longer they stand in that tower, the worse it gets, and maybe they weren't confident that they had the damage to one-shot the Aatrox. Xiaohu even swapping over to the Ignite though. But again, this bot lane, 30 CS lead towards Gala as Lehends catches it. It's getting really tough down here. And I think it's inevitable before the time that the RNG just starts stacking these dragons. I mean, they have constant bot push, they're controlling the wave. All they need is Wei to hover down here to get these dragons. Herald spawning in 30 seconds, so we'll see if Gen.G decide to respond or look for any kind of cross maps.
I'm curious to see if RNG really want to commit to the Dragon play, because back in the LPL, RNG way more of a team focused on the Rift Herald, but we have seen in play-ins, RNG actually have been taking quite a few early Drakes and just playing to stack those up. With Wei being here already, that might be the play, but Chovy having Cryo, they're going to be able to go for it just yet.
Yeah, Chovy with Cleanse available as well makes it a lot easier for him to step forward with some confidence here. RNG collapsing on the top side, Gala pulled up as well. Bot side for Rule and Lehends, not really a fast pushing duo. Of course, Synth Poison actually burns through the wave pretty quickly, so they might be able to get some pressure, maybe a single plate back or two on the bottom side. In the meantime, though, RNG uncontested on this Herald.
And Gala being here makes me wonder if they're just going to full swap. He's hovering back towards mid now, but they're going to lose a lot of creep spot. They're going to lose a Dragon as well for this, so I feel like this could have been a play that they played a little bit better, where they actually just push bot lane, have Gala go back there in the first place, then move towards mid and secure the Herald with that numbers advantage. But Chovy
locked out.
Oh,
And the CC chain is beautiful. Flawlessly timed from Gala, Ming, and Xiaohu to lock him down.
Like you said, just the coordination there, Xiaohu going in, locking Chovy down, and then Gala having the Gravitum able to follow up. Didn't matter that Chovy had the cleanse, instantly goes down. Didn't commit the flash, so at least no type of repeat play you have to be too afraid of, but huge kill for RNG.
yeah, great play there, punishing Chovy. He's been under a lot of pressure this game with Wei just running through mid constantly from the early stages, and Xiaohu, of course, the second he dings over to 6, despite the cleanse, they do have enough CC to at least burst him out, push him out of lane, if not get a kill if Ming's around. Doran doing pretty well up in this top lane, up against Breathe. Dragon wasn't taken by Gen.G. They got a plate, they got a couple waves in, but they're still down in CS, and Gala will still get this push. Peanut now on this top side.
Maybe looking to make something happen. Breathe, no counter-strike. Maybe anticipating some sort of gank to come in from Wei, but instead just focusing on getting the wave in, trying to make sure Breathe cannot just freeze it here.
It's quite interesting that RNG haven't really put too much attention top, right? With the one early gank, but that's been about it. Just leaving Breathe to kind of, to his own devices, scale up for later on.
Go. Oh. Resisting.
Short trades from the Jax, just wants to queue in, threaten the stun, and then back away, and then keep range on the Aatrox to make sure he doesn't get poked out by the Qs. Peanut's in a base. RNG didn't have information on the enemy jungler, but they have so much vision to work with now that they can assume that he is towards the top side. So RNG have so much agency now in the fact that Breed will get a base off, he's not under threat. 4-man bot side, they get a Dragon and bot vision. Look at the vision on the bot side. Raptors, Red, Krugs, everything is warded, and they have a Herald too, so I think RNG can just work with mid and bot push, constantly threaten these plays, and eventually Herald down a tower.
Lehends with the cleanse, courtesy of the Summoner Spellbook, will not get caught out there, but that is the Drake over to the side of RNG. And they still have the Herald up and available for Wei. This has been a really solid early game for RNG, shutting down at the level 1. Yes, it went a little bit south and they weren't able to kill Chovy, but it freed up Xiaohu to roam to the top side. Pretty consistent thus far. See if Gen.G can kind of recover and make some plays of their own, but it'll be tough as long as RNG are still holding on to that Herald.
Yeah, we've seen Peanut primarily kind of just shadowing what RNG been looking to do. Hasn't really had the opportunity to make any plays for himself as Lehends.
You're not supposed to chase the Singe, but I don't know if that applies for the support Singe. There, gonna force the flash out at least. Lehends will back away.
Yeah, Ming just using the E flash there. Second time he's done that this game to keep forcing flashes out of Gen.G. First it was Ruler, now it's Lehends. That's a TP bot, so Lehends with the spellbook, of course, has
Locked
TP.
up, big. Ruler now caught out, big burst damage now coming in. Not quite enough with the Graves ultimate, but here comes Peanut. They're looking to keep this one going. Ruler laying down the ult on the backside. They just don't have the damage on the bottom side. Lehends building a bit of AP, but not quite enough to finish any kills.
Xiaohu TP into that bot tier when he thought the fight would be a little bit more extended, wants to make sure he was first, despite Chovy contesting that mid push, just sacrificed his lane to make sure that RNG would win the fight if Gen.G decided to chase. Nothing comes of it.
RNG, their Rift Herald is actually incredibly close to timing out. I wonder if they're sending Gala and Ming mid now with Wei, drop the Herald, get some gold onto AD carry. Doing a nice job having Xiaohu cover in that bottom lane.
Our Wei has so much discipline, doesn't take the wave. Could be an easy Q there, just get himself ahead, be a bit greedy, but he decides not to. Good guy Wei.
That's how I know you're a jungler. You're praising him because he's not auto-attacking a cannon creep in a pro game.
So juicy. Hang on a second, Lehends.
Hence the flip back. Xiaohu not a ton of mana, should just be able to escape here, but Lehends definitely a nuisance, to say the least.
So there's the Herald mid. Gold going over to the jungle bot lane of RNG, which are now going to hang around this mid lane. They don't have TP on Xiaohu, so that means that they can defend Breathe a lot easier by having their bot lane mid, so they can cover both sides. Gen.G are going to match it, and this is the threat of having the mid push. You can constantly hover towards the bot side. But Gala's just going to come down here and catch the wave while Xiaohu bases. Lehends just playing hide and seek with people right now with his Hex Flash.
I mean, you are winning the mental game, but Lehends...
Ult's just around the corner. Huge increase in armor and MR.
He's out, I think.
But they're going to be able to grab a lot of plates here. Gala, I'm not sure how much ammo he has left on Infernum or when the Chakram will be back up. But if he has access to the white gun, he's going to shred through this tower. Ruler on the way down, and... oh, he's a very squishy boy. Will he walk into the darkness?
Ruler.
Oh my god, audience. He's got out!
He's dead.
Oh, the cheers! It should have warned him, but he couldn't hear it through all the white noise. Lehends now moving forward, getting pulled back. The Singe so incredibly obnoxious. Way now running for his heels. Peanut! That's a clean flash in! The knock-up, the damage, the follow-up. Lehends will find the kill with the poison. The lock-in coming in from Gala on the backside. Big burst damage coming into the combo. Enough to finish the job, and Gala will grab a kill. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Chovy versus Xiaohu, a 1v1. Chovy now chasing for the kill. Flash available. Doesn't look like he wants to use it.
No more gap close, doesn't have the E up, but it's just a huge fight in the bot side. RNG win this 3v3 so incredibly hard. Ruler has no sums, he dies instantly. Wei tries to escape. Really good play by Peanut to shut down his ult, kind of gap close to get away by flash Wing. But RNG are just dominating this game through bot lane. Lehends just really far behind right now.
And we've seen RNG just, again, pushing the pace of the game. This is something I don't think Gen.G experienced too much back in the LCK, but we're going to see here what happened. Just incredible patience coming out from RNG, able to land the Zenith play. But here, Cajol gets so dicey.
Yeah, it does. And this is where Peanut makes this great play to stop Wei from getting the dash. But look at the vision in the top left. Gen.G are putting their wards defensively in their own jungle. That's how hard it is for them to contest River right now. RNG own the mid-bot side of the map. Anyone steps up, Lehends would have been dove if he didn't base. Ruler walks into his own jungle, he dies. It's really hard for them to find any angles right now. And with Dragon up in 50 seconds, I think RNG are just going to be able to secure that really easily. Herald's up, can Gen.G fight that as well? I don't think they can.
I think the big struggle right now, honestly, is that Peanut and Lehends, the two members who have a lot more freedom to move around the map, don't have a lot of damage. So the later we get, maybe it'll become more of a non-issue. But right now, RNG is so much easier for them to take these fights, to burst out these individual targets. It takes so long for Gen.G to finish anybody. They're just going to walk in, take this Herald. Gen.G opting for the spectator play. Walked into the rift, threatened, hoped maybe RNG would back off, but it does not work.
And Xiaohu's hovering around mid right now. Wei almost gets pulled back into Doran, so Xiaohu can clear the mid wave. So what RNG have done there is a 4-1 rotation, right? Your 4 from mid go top, your 1 from bot goes mid, and you don't lose anything. The only thing that RNG have to be scared about is being collapsed on by a 5-man because Xiaohu has no DP, but they will all base, come back out on the map, and then start contesting this dragon, which is about to spawn. So Gen.G maybe have to cross-map here, keep their members topside, try to threaten this top tier 1, try to dive, breathe.
Lehends coming in, now grounded, gonna throw him back in, not quite gonna hit through, he's leaping over, now he's looking for the 1v1 with Ruler, Ruler running. The snare, where's it going to go? Lehends chasing him down, the Singe feels like inevitability, breathe just slowly, but surely getting burned down, but no!
What the?
How does he get one back? The patience to hold the leap strike!
Yeah, so huge coming out for Breathe. The fact that he made that happen, this is why RNG are so happy to give him this Jax.
And he even flashed into the bloody wall. He didn't escape. He misplayed it, but still managed to find a kill. Gala's fighting Peanut here.
Gala leaping away. Chovy! Massive shutdown. 500 gold into his back pocket. Everything for the Azir.
And that could be the difference maker. Chovy with some gold, Chovy with some items. He will outrange everyone on the side of RNG and be able to put up huge DPS later on if Gen.G can keep holding on.
Wei still has this Herald, of course. They got the Dragon too, so they can Herald this mid tower if they want to kill it and take that tower down. Sometimes we see teams hold this Herald, the second one, for a tier 2. Obviously gives a lot more gold and they've cracked open bot, so maybe that's what they're waiting for. But up against an Azir, I think it's just worth it to get that tower down and keep the control around the map.
I think especially because we've seen a lot of RNG's success have come from that vision line. They've pushed into Gen.G's jungle, break open mid-turret, they'll be able to do that top side. But this play from Breathe was bonkers. It
really was. The root doesn't land with the flip into the Singe W, so he tries to escape here. Let's watch Breathe. He flashes into the wall right now. So he doesn't escape, but then he still turns around and finds a kill onto Ruler. All the meanwhile, Ming finds Chovy. So there's a lot of skirmishing going on the map. Look at the damage.
Man. I have never been so excited watching a dude hit somebody with a lamppost before, but does it for me.
Ruler's laughing that one off. He's like, okay, well, I just got absolutely one shot. Not going to do that one again. RNG celebrating the 1-for-1 trade at a numbers disadvantage and a 1v4, of course. And now Xiaohu's on towards this bot side. So RNG sitting in a 1-3-1, will control the mid push, have the Herald, agency still all in their favor. 2,000 gold lead. We'll see how Gen.G defend the map right now.
Wei has the Herald. And like you said, I mean, mid-turret's still up. It feels like this is a problem that RNG need to deal with. Chovy only gets closer and closer to his second item. He's going to be able to non-stop clear these waves.
Peanut Doran on the top side. Breathe pretty strong, but no sums available to him. Waiting for the pullback to ensure that they can knock him into the wall. That's the chain CC. TP now coming in immediately. Gen.G know that it's time to get out. They do not overcommit to the play. Doran going to ult for the extra movement speed. Xiaohu coming in now. They're going to look for the knockback, but it whiffs! Peanut whiffs completely, and now Doran is a dead man walking. Breathe will grab another kill.
RNG, they commit the TPs and they find the play. It finally gives them an opening to use this Rift Herald. We see Chovy doesn't commit for the full turret on bot side, does stop the recall and does go for it.
So then how much can RNG get on this top side if the Herald's going to kill the tower? I wonder if RNG are going to push in mid and move towards this top tier 2 while they see Chovy down there. Is there a threat of a tier 2? I don't think it is. I think they're kind of saying that you either defend your mid tower or your top tower. And it looks like RNG will get the mid tower instead. Wei looking for a dive even.
Going forward, Ruler in trouble. Ruler's just so squishy. Oh, the sidestep on the ultimate is clean. RNG, are they going to go for more here? Fishing for the charge. Peanut going to move in, has the smite, auto attack. Maybe can finish it before crashes. That's big, bit of extra damage. RNG get the and one on the Herald charges.
RNG are just running away with this game. You look at the game state and you ask yourself, what can Gen.G actually do? They decide on a top dive, but then Xiaohu instantly TPs. Ming's already there because of mid push, and boom, collapse comes in. Peanut misses that ult. Maybe if he knocks Breathe away, Doran could live here. Regardless, Wei's around, Herald the top tier 1, mid tower falls, top tier 2 is extremely low from the second charge. It's all falling apart for Gen.G.
It's so hard for Gen.G. Because Ruler especially just needs time. He needs souls. He needs to be able to follow Peanut around and grab souls from these jungle camps, but they're losing chunks of jungle. Peanut now stepping in to clear this Gromp, but Ruler has to go back to mid lane in the meantime, and it's just such a long road ahead of Gen.G if they do want to come back in this game. It's a 3K deficit, it's 2 Drakes. RNG are going to demand that Gen.G fight them. If not for this Drake, then for the next one.
I think especially with the power spikes, but Lehends not going to be caught out. Does have the flash available, so for RNG looking forward, again, the big thing to me is just Gala. Gala being so far ahead of the Gen.G bottom lane, has had the Gale Force for a while, and I imagine sitting on a decent bit of gold.
It's just every skirmish, every pan of a camera to a fight, it's RNG flashing forwards and Gen.G flashing backwards. Right now, they're just catching waves. Baron is up. RNG's Baron, not the fastest. We'll see what guns Gala can get to see if they want to rush it down, but their easy win condition right now is Dragon stacking. 50 seconds until the Infernal Dragon spawns, and they can just secure that, get themselves on Soul Point. I think Gen.G are forced to fight this next Dragon in 40 seconds.
It's going to be a tough arena to fight in, especially if RNG push out their lanes, get the first vision set up. Going into the Lissandra does not feel good. Similarly with Gala, great guns for a fight. Well played, obviously a sign of a match class Aphelios when you've always got the right guns for the exchange. Wei laying down a little bit of poke already. Peanut, no real sustain, no Warmogs to his name, not going to be able to heal that up before the fight to come.
A little bit of control for Gen.G. They managed to get a pink in that mid brush, and they're trying to contest this pixel brush. No real huge threat of an engage, just Xiaohu. That's the only person they need to track. Lehends no flash, Ruler no flash. If he lands on those two in a fight, they will be absolutely blown up by RNG with the Graves ult follow up, the Jax diving in, the Leona ult. Battle lines are drawn. Gen.G coming through mid, RNG on the bot side of this fight. What can Chovy get done? Does he go in? Does he play for front to back? How does Doran navigate through this fight as Xiaohu is looking?
Tension.
This could be huge.
Look up Chovy and a flank on the backside, but Chovy still managed to get out. No, Chovy taken down. Gala's massive. It's all about Gala. It's all about the chakrams. Gen.G running for the hills. Gala says not today. Pushes them away, forces them back, and will take the Infernal.
And now RNG on Soul Point. They're going to be able to make their way towards mid, push us in, potentially even look towards a Baron. Such a long death timer on Chovy.
They're running towards the top side of the river. I think you might be right. Xiaohu does have TP up. It just came off the spellbook cooldown, so they're going to force this Baron. It's on Doran, Peanut, and Chovy to contest this. Ming is low. Not much to work with, though. No ultimates. Peanut's on the bot side of the map. This is gone.
This is the perfect guns for Aphelios. They just shred through this. They got 380 French just banging on this Baron. It's going to get knocked down. RNG in complete control of the game. Dominating fight. Both objectives to their name. 5K gold lead.
And Xiaohu and Breathe are really far down in CS, 40, 50 CS deficits, but it's the skirmishes where they're excelling, and they walk into the meat grinder of RNG. Gen.G are really lucky here. If Xiaohu gets this W ult off, they're all dead. Luckily, he gets pushed back just in time before he does get that ult off, but even still, RNG just runs straight through them.
Yeah, and I think it's so important that Gala I don't know if it's a Moonlight Vigil or a Q coming out from the Calibrum, but just able to get that last tick of damage to take down Chovy, who we said kind of needs to be this huge playmaker, this huge DPS source for Gen.G.
Look at the levels on the solo lanes. Breathe and Xiaohu are down a level right now. That's how much they're kind of losing the lane in Breeze's case, getting pushed in by Doran, and the amount of the Xiaohu's just giving up waves to roam around and TP for the team, TP for the skirmishes. Jungle and bot lane ahead for RNG right now. How do they set up with this Baron? They've got a 4-1 going on as Chovy takes his top tier 1. Doesn't have the TP, so there's a number disadvantage for Gen.G on the rest of the map. I suppose RNG will just look to force dives if Gen.G decide to step up.
Ult up for Xiaohu already as well. They have the CC available, Ming having it, so Doran gonna have to be careful. At the very least, Ming could just apply this pressure, zone him off. They do it, they're gonna be able to get this one very easily, and Breathe already having a way coming up in bot.
Oh, Lehends. Kind of hard to approach the Baron empowered wave as a Singe, not gonna lie. Difficult for him now. Breathe, keeping the pressure up. RNG should just be able to walk in, take down these tier 2 towers. First Baron always feels just like your right to walk into every lane, take every tier 2. Pushing it harder, or further rather though, is a different story as Lehends will clear this wave.
Yeah, pushing into tier 3s 23 minutes in is really difficult, and unless the enemy team makes a mistake, they can just stand next to towers and clear waves. The terrain around the tier 3 is so much easier to defend than the terrain around a tier 2. So mid and bot tier 2 full. What RNG will do is they'll do an exact same 4-1 setup, but they'll put Breathe top this time to crack open the top tier 2. RNG looking to fight though. Breathe has TP.
Peanut in the area. Ooh, Zenith Blade just barely not connecting. Doran able to make it out of that one.
RNG being so aggressive with their tools available, and the fact that they're still just pretty much running them down throughout their own jungle is crazy. They have the wave set up in mid, and like you said, Cadril, just getting that top wave pushed in to make the play for this inner turret.
And there's no defense really, is there, unless Gen.G just decided to take a fight, but lacking the Aatrox ult. Doran just picked up the death stance, so small spikes coming in. They'll try their best to defend this, but 40 seconds left on this Baron buff gives RNG 2 waves to play on. The question is, do they look to just full-on dive here? They're giving up mid-wave, they're just sending 5 members top here. Gen.G matching, Lehends on the way.
Now moving in, Peanut trying to find a bit of an engage here, just a bit of poke now traded back. Doran on the retreat, Xiaohu going back in. Peanut now locked up, locked down. Big Aphelios assault on the backside, but no follow-up quite yet. RNG finding one so far, traded back on the opposite side. Support for jungle in the end.
So 1 for 1.
Honestly, RNG, I think, not able to find the fight they want, right? Gen.G under their turret, Gen.G able to use those safety tools they have, and things like the Senna ultimate, so the collapse can't really get any more than Peanut.
Yeah, Peanut gets absolutely shredded through. Has a lot of tenacity, but RNG does have a lot of damage. Gala wasn't even hitting him in that fight, and he still got melted straight through. Needs to be really careful on stepping up. I think he was trying to bait out some cooldowns here and then just escape afterwards. See him dashing onto Xiaohu, but he used his Q, I believe, on the ground there to clear the creep, so he didn't get a phase rush proc. And by the time he's trying to escape here, he's already engaged upon. Ming does go quite deep. I think he tried to E Peanut there and actually hit Lehends on the backside, so he went under tower. He ends up falling, and Gen.G defend his top tier 2.
And really good ult from Gala there, but Gen.G either with enough peace of mind or a little bit of luck to step just out of range of each other to stop that from being a bigger issue. Senna shield as well, obviously mitigating a lot of that upfront damage. Will only be a stronger defensive tool as we get later and later into the game. Peanut and Doran sticking together, trying to get something done on this map. 45 seconds away from Infernal. This Infernal is everything. RNG take it, it feels like there's almost no way for Gen.G to come back.
Yeah, and when we look in the inventories of RNG members, right, Xiaohu finally able to finish off the Zanyas. We have a stopwatch for Gala, so having a lot of these defensive tools that if Gen.G are able to find a bit of a nice engage for themselves, it still seems like RNG have the tools necessary to at least be able to survive, you know, engage from Peanut. If Lehends maybe flashes in and it is able to find an angle.
Gen.G's biggest hope right now is Chovy. Just picked up the Rabadon's death cap, 285 CS, level 15. He will dish out a lot of damage if RNG overcommit. It's just this initial engage of RNG is just so powerful that someone always dies from Gen.G, and then the Lissandra reset comes forwards and they can start to push through. Doran might be caught here, he needs to be careful.
Oh! Out, ulti coming in, maybe enough healing. Do they have enough damage to finish him off? He has so much armor. The damage from Lissandra, the only real threat, but no, they're gonna finish him. Way taking him down. The Thrall coming through as well. Gen.G forced to back away. They have to be ready to contest, but Breathe already on the flank.
It's a 4v5 for a soul. It looks as good as done here if RNG just waits for Breathe to TP back in and threaten Gen.G if they decide to walk up. Can Peanut sacrifice himself to steal it? Will RNG even let him?
Moonlight Vigil goes wide, Ming getting chunked down, getting lower and lower. That's Infernal Soul, and now they can take the fight to follow, but instead RNG backing away, knowing they've already been chunked. Gala, they can't afford to walk into that Aphelios turret. They're gonna take so much damage if they do. Lehends losing a third of his HP just for walking in. RNG now on the retreat. They walk away with the major objective. It is nigh impossible now for Gen.G.
A lot of respect from RNG in a 5v4 in a position where your top laner's TPing back. You have a soul, but then you decide not to pull the trigger and set up for Baron instead.
Yeah, I guess maybe because RNG having no ultimates available other than Ming's, not really wanting to take a risky fight, especially when Gen.G still have all their tools up. But like you said, Baron coming up in 20 seconds seems like it should be very easy for RNG to pivot to that objective and start setting up to break down these inhibitors.
What is Gala going to buy here from base? Just base, has a BF sword and a stopwatch, hasn't completed an Infinity Edge yet, but I think he's getting very, very close. But Baron's going to be the aim of the game. RNG is just going to start it and look for a turn, you have to imagine, after they push in mid waves. And that's what Gen.G want to stop. They don't want to lose any mid push. They want to keep this mid push in so they can at least get some vision in this topside river while RNG's on a reset. Maybe even try to force this mid tier one, but Xiaohu has TP and needs to be careful. Pings on the bot side, wards around the entrance red. Xiaohu could just TP behind them here. It's a bit far at this point. Gen.G now in this river.
And Xiaohu is terrifying, because the Poppy solves so many problems for the side of Gen.G, but it does not stop Xiaohu from getting into your backline. Incredibly difficult. Gala with a potential follow-up as well. Has the Infern ready. Big blue ulti. Could seal the deal on the team fight very quickly. Ming fishing, looking for a little bit of a pick. Cleanse comes out from Lehends. Summoner Spellbook as well for a bit of extra movement speed. Ferries him out to safety. Gen.G staying strong in the mid lane. High risk every time they walk forward. If Xiaohu's waiting over a wall, it could spell the end of the game. Despite that, they're walking forward with confidence. They're contesting the Baron pit. They're contesting this vision.
I think Gen.G know if they give up this Baron vision for 5 to 10 seconds, it's as good as gone. But RNG are slowing it down. Gala wants to base here and pick up IE. I imagine there it is. Infinity Edge picked up. He was sitting on a lot of gold. This is Gen.G's one window to force Baron. I think they know he based. I think they know that RNG was stalling for this spike. This is their only window back into the game.
An incredible read, but will it pay off? Gala running forward, the Baron getting lower and lower. 5K, 4K, waiting over the wall. Here comes Xiaohu.
Oh, leaping in, looking at one-shot ruler, goes golden, stops from disengaging. Chovy waiting over the wall. The Sand Soldiers, how much work can they do? Chovy looking to be the difference maker. Xiaohu now taken down, but no, Gala! Monster damage from the graves in the Aphelios. RNG slaughter Gen.G in the fight.
Xiaohu bought so much time, but the second Wei and Gala were able to join up so much AoE damage coming out from Wei and Gala's ultimates, and this might just be over.
There's the 3-item spike that RNG was waiting for. That's why there was 1 to 2 minutes downtime, and Gala made a hell of an arrival. Instantly destroys Gen.G, and they might just end it here.
And despite an inconsistent play-in stage, RNG coming out with an incredible showing in game 1 versus Gen.G. Chovy doing what he can to hold the line, but it will not be enough. RNG taking their first win of the group stage.
Like you said, they might have been shaky in play-ins, dropped the game to DFM, weren't able to take down DRX. But I mean, heck, these guys won MSI for a reason, play so highly in LPL, got 4th seed. They're a team that you can't count out.
Definitely cannot. And now after day 1, LCK LPL is sitting at 1-1. T1 managed to take down EDG. RNG have taken down Gen.G. It looks like anyone's game in these group stages. This is the 4th seed from the LPL, just taking down the 1st seed from the LCK. You can really, it's so hard to expect what you'll get out of these games, but RNG, incredible performance.
All I know is the second Dagda gets up on that desk, he owes RNG an apology. That's what I'm saying. Oh, there he is.
A straight 20, 30-second apology about how he doubted him, and he'll never do it again. RNG looking strong. A lot of RNG fans in the crowd, a lot of flags, a lot of cheers for them. A lot to reflect on for Gen.G. That Singed pick, as good as it was in draft and as much as we were excited about it, just got pushed in all game, and it was the Aphelios Leona roaming around, just dominating every other lane for RNG.
And my big question, considering how dominant T1 was in our previous game, was, were Gen.G going to look untouchable? Were they going to look immortal in this group stage? Were they going to look unstoppable? The answer is no. Very mortal. RNG taking big advantages there. The draft, without seeing more from the Singe, it's hard to say if that was the issue, but RNG attacking at level 1, contesting, fighting, doing everything they can to get control of mid, to roam top. It was textbook RNG at its finest.
Honestly, my biggest takeaway, not only from this game, but just RNG so far at Worlds, is how much more aggressive they've been in the early game than we saw them in the LPL. Like in the LPL, it's like, okay, RNG are a team who are willing to fight if you fight them. But I mean, here in this game, the big difference maker was Wei. Wei was hunting down so many opportunities in the early game, splitting the map with a jungle invade, ganks mid, walks like, 2 pings away, ganks mid once again, goes back up towards topside after that.
And this is massive because we know what happens if you play a slower game against a jungler like Peanut. He will always find an angle, but when you are the one dictating the pace, when you are the one commanding, demanding attention from the opposition, it makes it so hard for him to really have an impact.
And Wei's a player who never really, he did play a little bit of the Poppy Trundle meta, this heavy early game on, but he never really found his stride in it. He was much more of the Wukong and the Viego kind of player for RNG. But Graves, I feel like, is in the middle ground where you are that kind of champ that can carry the game, but you can also be very proactive early game. I think it's something that teams need to be very aware of when it comes to RNG and taking Graves away from Wei.
Yeah, I also think it's very interesting because I remember last time we had a Graves meta, like going all the way back to 2020. Wei was pretty much a Jarvan one-trick back then. Could not play the Graves. So the fact that after all these years, the growth, able to pop off on the Graves, amazing to see.
I mean, super notable. And I think that it's, again, I think the most interesting thing about this is how it just sets us up for chaos, because so often I think we get ready in the group stage to be like, all right, this is the year. LPL is clearly better, or LCK is clearly better, and now everything just feels up in the air, and we haven't even seen Group B play yet.
We haven't. We have not. Worlds Day 1 has been really exciting. EG almost managed to take down JDG. They had like these big moments. I feel like the day is wrapped up in such an amazing way where each region is kind of even against each other.
Fantastic. Except for North America, sorry.
Except for NA and EU still a step behind.
Okay.
More so LCK, LPL.
Not week 2 yet, boys. It's not week 2.
Is that where it gets better?
Isn't that where it always gets better?
Western week 2, baby.
It was week 1.
Oh, it's week 1?
Oh, it was week 1.
I got it backwards?
It's a little awkward. Anyway, that's enough from us. Shox is on stage with RNG's AD carry in our Verizon post-game interview.
Yes, I am, and well, we have a lot of Gala fans, it seems, in the house today. And how could you not be a fan of Gala and RNG after that performance? Absolutely unbelievable. Gala, congratulations, taking down the first seed out of the LCK. What do you feel the key was to having such a dominating performance here today?
首先，恭喜你们拿下了这场对阵的 LCK 1号种子的这场比赛。所以你觉得说今天能够赢下Gen.G的一个关键是什么呢？
我觉得可能因为对面选了不常见的下路英雄嘛，然后我觉得我们处理得很好，然后可能我们从入围赛开始打，然后就是手也很热嘛，然后就打得还可以。
So today, the bot laners, the champions that the Gen.G's bot laners went with are not very often seen. I would definitely say we had a good answer to their champion picks. Also, we started our world's journey starting from the playing stage. So definitely, I think we're warmed up right now.
Okay, on that topic, how much do you feel it helped? And do you feel you evolved a lot between the play-ins and now? And do you actually think you have a foot above the other teams that may only be coming into their first stage games this week?
那因为你们也刚提到了嘛，就是说你们是从入围赛开始打的，你会觉得说比起可能说从这周开始才进入到世界赛征程的这些队伍来讲，你们会更加手热一点，然后可能会稍微来讲说会有一些优势吗？
我觉得我们从入围赛开始打，就是因为我们也输了几场比赛嘛，然后也就是改正了一下自己的错误，我觉得蛮不错的。而且我们本来就是一个我觉得慢热的队伍嘛，然后我觉得先打入围赛就是对我们挺好的。
入围赛什么？
先打入围赛就是对我们挺好的。
So yes, so first of all, I think that playing from the playing stage, definitely we lost some games because we all definitely fixed some mistakes that we had on our own. So starting from the playing stage definitely can help us a team, which kind of style of a slow starter. So definitely playing the playing stage will help us to improve so much.
Yes, and it definitely showed today. You talked about the bot lane pick specifically of Gen.G. Of course, a lot has changed in the bot lane in terms of the meta evolving, some power picks like Zeri being nerfed. How flexible do you feel you can be in this bot lane meta, and what do you think about it overall?
因为你也提到，像今天Gen.G可能说拿出了一些比较不常见的下路组合，那其实可能说在之前的版本比较大热的一些大 C 英雄，大家得到了一些削弱。所以说你觉得你在当前版本的一个可以说是灵活程度，你觉得什么样子的呢？你对这个版本的一个适应程度是什么样子的？
我觉得在目前这个版本，因为也是世界赛刚开始嘛，我觉得大家也都还在摸索版本吧，然后还没有一个具体的英雄。我觉得目前小组赛来看的话，就是很多英雄都可以玩嘛，然后我觉得到后面的话，可能就会大家都会选那几个英雄。
So basically, this is the start of the World Championship. So I feel like every team is still figuring out what champions are the best. So we're seeing a lot of champions, various champions are being picked during this stage. So probably after several matchups and to the later stage at this tournament, then we'll figure out what's the best for this meta.
Okay, I will ask you again maybe. But congratulations, Gala, Shishe, for the interview. Iris, fantastic job today as well. And a lot of fans of the LPL in the house today, and they've had a pretty good day one. Back over to you.
Thank you so much, Shox. And what a day it has been here. First day of the group stage at Worlds 2022. Now, we prefaced and previewed this game with a flaming hot take out of Dagda over here. But Azale, I don't think we realized that the flaming hot take was RNG will finish third. And in reality, that means Gen.G will finish fourth. That was the flaming hot take.
That is really spicy.
That's what I'm supposed to glean from this.
You guys have been slagging me about not understanding the NA memes and the NA jokes. Any true LPL fan knows that if you really want a team to win, you insult them. You tell them that, you know what, this is a team that isn't going to win. They're going to do terrible. So I never really doubted the LPL at all. You know what? I was with RNG the entire way through this. So let me just fire this on. Let me just raise this proudly and know exactly that I knew what I was doing the entire time along.
We played right into the man's hands. How dare we? What do you make of this RNG win, though? Because of, in all seriousness, there were a couple of concerns we had based on their play.
That Dagda had.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
I believed in him the whole time, actually.
I shouldn't have. You're right. I should not have lumped you in with him, and I'm very sorry for that as well. But Dagda, talk to me about what you saw in this game that gives you kind of some renewed faith that they really can go far in this tournament.
Well, what I really liked about it was how they were up against the Senna and the Singe on the bot side. They're able to use the bot lane push that Gala and Ming were able to get to actually look for invades and picks like they're seeing at the moment. And they did a really good job of starting to snowball Way into a position where he was massive. Gala was in such a good spot as well. And then being able to continue that forward. One of the big things that we saw in the LPL was how good Xiaohu was at using this Lissandra. And you can see it there in some of these super late game fights. Immediately going in, getting onto the carries, locking them up, and then there's this 1-2 punch coming over his shoulders between the Graves, the Aphelios, with these massive moonlight visuals, the collateral damage, wrecking the backline every single time and making it impossible for Gen.G to play the game.
I mean, Xiaohu on his Lissandra is one of my favorite player plus champion combos. I think this guy never disappoints on the Lissandra. I have to give a lot of credit to Breathe as well. He was so disruptive in a lot of these fights. This one very explosive from the Graves and the Aphelios as they finally do arrive to the fight. The ulti comes through. Where did they go?
I honestly thought that was a pretty good look for Gen.G, right? When you had Chovy get that first kill, you kind of thought maybe they could control this choke point, and then absolute disaster after that.
I mean, RNG played a really, really good game.
They did.
I think even the builds and everything made a lot of sense. You know, I thought Jax actually going into what was a mostly full tank build, you know, when this game is largely about team fights was really smart, especially given the fact that, you know, Gen.G's team comp didn't really have easy ways to actually deal with him. He was so disruptive. As long as they're putting some sort of pressure onto the Azir, it didn't feel like there's going to be anyone who can ever punch through him.
And it definitely feels like if we are going to shift into this style, we already heard it on the caster desk as well, it feels like this is something that RNG are comfortable playing, right? Way on the Graves, playing with something like the Aphelios on the bot side. Again, is Xiaohu and Ming setting up for these great engages. This is the style you now need to try and get RNG off of if you want to try and take that win. And it definitely feels like it starts a lot with getting Way off the Graves. He was so instrumental to this victory.
A very good look out of the LPL squad from the play-ins of the Worlds Tournament into the group stage here, taking down the #1 seed from the LCK. Now it's time for us to reflect on some of the other happenings of the day, because we did have 6 banger games, and I want to start right here with our future Flying Oyster Overlords as they took down 100 Thieves. This was just a fun game.
It really was, and it's a very, very impressive game, you know, from the Flying Oyster. I do think that this is kind of the introduction for this team on the world stage to most of the audience. You know, most people would not have been following them, and I do think this really shows that this team can compete in the group, can really mix it up, and at their best and on their champs, they look really, really strong.
I think as well, actually getting the early aggression out of them did surprise me a little bit. Like we saw Shun getting the 1v2 kill on the bot side. You end up going for these dives as well. CFO traditionally, when you look at like their stats across the board, have been very, very slow in these early stages and playing for these late game fights. But I mean, CFO picked it up a notch against 100 Thieves. Then you get Mission as well, that on these picks like the Victor is just popping the hell off.
I mean, Mission was just absolutely in his comfort zone. This is a guy who did a lot of the heavy lifting for this team, in his own region, in the later stages, had a really, really strong showing on the Victor. And I think that day one is going to have a lot of learnings for a number of different teams, right? Because you're coming into day one of groups, you've scrimmed maybe your own kind of subsection of teams, you have your own read on what the meta is going to be, but it was not able to actually work out for everyone.
From there, we go to JDG versus EG. It was a good look for Evil Geniuses. They almost got it done.
Doing.
Not
making me relive all of the enemies losing.
Gotta do it, right? I mean, we were sitting here in the crowd, all three of us, right?
Yeah.
So we have both sides of the matchup. The crowd itself here in the arena was on both sides of this matchup. The reason I wanted to rewatch it is because, one, I think from a fan perspective, it was one of the most exciting games of the day.
Oh, yeah.
But two, it showed me a little bit of how EG can compete. And I think there were a lot of questions coming out of play-ins, and with, Cowrie plus the other four, like, can they really stack up? I think they've proven they can, even if they didn't get it done here.
Yeah, absolutely. At the very least, at their best, they've shown that they can really be competitive here. I mean, it's a pretty crazy day one when we nearly had JDG losing to the number 3 seed from North America. We did have Gen.G getting clapped up by RNG. So, both of two of these big tournament favorites nearly falling on day one.
But I think, again, you can kind of see with EG here how well they played the map, how well they played team fights, that, like, these are teams that can actually, like, run with the best of them. And in these best-of-1 scenarios, you have to be firing on all cylinders because EG are coming in swinging. And, I mean, you nearly weren't able to match up there.
I was going to say, we're not closing the show without reliving some of the moments of this game. T1 versus EDG. FLICKR be Scout in the mid lane. We've got the Lee Sin, the Vi, those more early aggressive champions. So just a totally different kind of pace of game in which T1 comes out on top.
Absolutely, and I mean, these are two of the big favorites, for their group. And I think the fact that T1 really kind of separating themselves out from the pack a bit here, with a crushing defeat of EDG, really did showcase that they may be the runaway favorites for this. We've seen LCK dominate group stages time and time again.
Especially since this was comfort for EDG, right? Like, JJ plays a heap of Vi. Scout, we already talked about, one of the best, at least in my opinion, is here in the league. You got Viper on towards a more aggressive bot lane that he can play with makeup. This wasn't as if like this was uncomfortable or EDG not adapting. This was T1 meeting EDG and smacking them down, and a huge portion of that was coming from our player of the game, FLICKR, absolutely popping off in the economy.
Yeah, to a degree, it feels like both teams got what they would have wanted, right? Yeah. And it did just come down to execution and play in the end. But when FLICKR's pulling off triple kills around the Baron, doesn't matter if you secured it, if everybody goes down with that buff on them.
I mean, this was just so incredible to see. I think the biggest one for me was kind of seeing how well Owner was able to set up things on the Lee Sin. Like, even only having like 3.5k damage, I think, at the end of that game. Like, he was so instrumental to the success of T1 in this. And as we already kind of highlighted, I think Gumayushi with the Sivir Yuumi combo might start to see creeping in a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of my read after watching that game. The fact that you can actually play Sivir Yuumi, you're up against a Kalista, one of the strongest early game champions in the game. If you can kind of get through those stages and not actually be punished by Kalista or Renata, well, it's looking like a pretty strong pick.
Azale, that's my concern, is that now we have LCK teams proving to everybody that you can still play the Sivir Yuumi. And if we end up there at the end of this whole tournament, man, wow, full circle. Who knows? We'll see. Now, if you aren't joining us in San Francisco for finals, you can experience Worlds with friends and family on the big screen. Worlds will be coming to select theaters near you, and you can use that QR code below to grab your tickets. Now let's take a look at the standings, see how things broke down on day number 1. We had 3 of our groups end up playing today. That would be Group A, Group B, Group D. Of course, all of them split 1-0s, 0-1s. So just a quick refresher. T1, Fnatic up top, Group A. Damwon Kia, JDG up top, Group B. And then, of course, CTBC, Flying Oyster, and Royal Never Give Up, topping the tables in Group D. Haven't got our first look at Group C just yet, but we don't have to wait too long to get to that point. Let's take a look at tomorrow's schedule and see what's on the docket. We kick things off with Rogue versus DRX. DRX, who smashed through the play-ins, up against our first look at Rogue. Evil Geniuses versus G2 in that second matchup of the day before we jump to Fnatic versus T1. Edward Gaming versus Cloud9. Top Esports, GAM Esports, and then we close things out with a banger of a match, JDG versus Damwon.
I mean, honestly,
so many of these are good.
Every single game tomorrow actually looks really, really compelling, and I do think that's one of the exciting things about the Worlds competition this year is that we entered Worlds with play-ins, 4 teams from Europe, 4 teams from the LCK, 4 teams from the LPL. There's so many high-level teams that there's really not any bad matchups. Even CFO, who a lot of people may have been counting out, not knowing how good the team really was, they already took a win here against Under Thieves, so it's anybody's game.
You got any more hot takes?
I'm just so excited for that last matchup.
Okay.
Like, I'm so excited. I don't want a hot take anymore because I've already got enough abuse for
LPL teams down at the bottom.
Yeah.
The entire actually,
JDG
you're right.
looking like a fourth place team, maybe.
All the LPL teams. Everyone needs to do generally something.
I just want as many flaming hot takes out of Tagged as we can get by the end of this tournament.
And I quote, I hate all the LPL teams.
Hot take, I hate
Just clip it out, no context needed.
I just need to cut the mic now.
Hey, man. Look, it's all worth it if LPL hoists the trophy in the end. And as we know, recent history says that they will. As much as LCK might dominate group stages, it's usually an LPL team that takes it once we get to those best of fives. Exactly.
Between MSI and Worlds.
Right, boom, there it is. And so we know what is on the line here at the World Championship. That's just day one of groups in the bag. We got plenty more to go. We'll catch y'all back here tomorrow for 6 more games.
It's going to be better tomorrow.
Damn right. You keep that mentality, Azale. Don't let that go. Don't let that go.
LPL will be worse.
But that is going to do it for us here at the Hulu Theater. So now on behalf of myself, the casters, the entire broadcast crew, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow for more Worlds. Until then, you stay healthy, you stay safe, and you be good to each other, all right?
Thanks, James.
Good
Great
night.
job.
I'll keep you safe on the walk.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome fans from around the world to the Hulu Theater, Madison Square Garden in New York City. 16 of the best League of Legends teams have arrived here in the Big Apple to fight for the legendary Summoners Cup. New York, are you ready for the group stage of Worlds 2022? Point and click CC will follow. Lissandra gets caught up by the trench line. He's burning. He's chunked out. He's bailed out. The Berserker's running for his life. Cloud9 get first blood.
Oh, here we go.
It's coming down. Nature's Grasp. Roots up too. Shelly gets off the charge. Here comes Cole with the Forge Guard. Throws Berserker flying in the air. He's looking for the bullet time, but the damage being done. And Sven is killed. Emperor's Divide. Slide and glide. Humanoid takes down. Fantastic Forge Guard call from Broken Blade, but the scoop, the dupe, the dunk, Doran Kia destroy G2.
Showmaker, playmaker, my goodness, with the Azir sweep right behind D2.
Next scoop.
Looking, coming.
Look front. 1 HP.
Venga. Nice, I believe here. Yeah, looking. All any good.
Aberdeen forced to run for his life now. Barrett's been interrupted. Rest is trying to end 100 Thieves' world. There is too much damage, too much chase, and flying Oyster kill 100 Thieves.
Gala though, knocking impact into the rest of the team. But impact more than happy to make that work. Evil Geniuses finding the angle. They finally find the fight and they make it work. Coming over the wall, Vulcan getting shredded, and now the resets can start to come through from Chovy, but they're trying to get the kill. 369 taken down. Gala goes under the ult, completely whiffs, cowering, untouched on the backside. TP now coming in. EG maybe, just maybe can get the fight, but cannot. Big, and oh baby, it's a 200 years moment. That ult from Aphelios was everything. Now Viper's in trouble. Viper's been locked down. They've got the Orn up, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Instantly Orn into the backside, looking, fishing for a kick. He will not find it. ADG running for their lives, getting cut down. The Yuumi empowering the carries. FLICKR with the double. EDG falling apart as T1 take the Herald. It's so close in the exchange, but EDG will take the Baron. FLICKR on the backside trying to finish off Scout. FLICKR can't get it done. He goes in. He takes down Scout. That's going to be one. Owner waiting over the wall. T1. Kuma now running. They're split. They've been knocked down. They might just be knocked out. TP coming in for FLICKR for the triple for Kuma.
Looking tension. This could be huge.
Look up says not today. Looking to be the difference maker. Xiaohu now taken down, but no, Gala! Monster damage from the Graves in the Aphelios. RNG slaughter Gen.G in the fight.